Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Jesse Jackson III. I'm the best-selling author and facilitator. Over 27 professional development programs and 72 books, 15 which are bestsellers. Really excited about that. We've had the opportunity to work with over 500,000 professionals in our time. We're approaching 1 million professionals post-COVID, which we're really excited about. And the thing that I think that I'm most proud of is our reputation has preceded us as game-changing and result getting. So when organizations get involved with us, there's very consistent patterns that they could see: lower suspension rates, much more healthy relationships between the teachers and the students, and there's more productivity in the organization. Now, in a post-COVID year, I need to let you know, if you are one of those organizations that has struggled with behavior in the past, in a post-COVID year, you're not going to get that luxury. Going into this year, you're going to have what we call the right behavior approach. And I like to call myself, the people call me a behavior expert, but I am a behavior expert in real life as a person who rehabilitates behavior, in the juvenile settings and things of that nature. I know behavior, and behavior is not theory. And, if you check our library, I have every book that everybody's ever written on behavior, particularly like all of these new people. We have all of their models. We have all of their programs. We have them around the office because I like to study with the mentality in which these folks are coming from. I'm telling you, this stuff is so far off, and it's not even close to getting results. Look at the challenges on the big board, right? You can't have theory when you're trying to manage a pandemic. Theories don't work in pandemics. Theories don't work post-COVID. You got to have people that are developed and in a good mind state to understand how to manage the issues in front of them. All that other stuff is going to be proven not to be proven moving forward. Challenges that are on the big board: health and safety, employee morale, race management, which is a lot of times very heavily connected to behavior issues; trauma management, a lot of times very heavily connected to behavior issues; student attendance, student behavior, distance learning, learning loss, right? So what is your philosophy towards learning loss? The learning loss is so much that every minute's going to count this year. So you're not going to be in these positions where you can spend the overwhelming arching amount of your time on a kid's behavior. So superintendent and principal, my challenge to you directly, I'm asking you, is your behavior program working? Is your staff in the best position to be successful? This is what all coaches have to ask. Have you put your team in position to win? Or have you just put something in place that you think works? There's some questions you got to ask. And if you're not coming up with without equivocation, yes, we have, you're in the right place, and I'm happy for you, okay? And then trust issues. Does the workers trust management? Does the families trust the teacher? These are the top challenges of the next year. We're talking about student behavior today because there's a lot of components to it, and there's ways to go about it. The first thing is, if you're a superintendent or principal, this is how I want you to diagnose what I'm saying to you. What is a trauma zone? So what happens is, let's take things such as models that I have seen that a lot of people invest in, okay? Restorative practices, PBIS. Now, I always get asked this question: do those things work? And the answer is, without equivocation, they do work. That's not what's in question. The question is do they work with the population? And this is not black, white, or brown, but the culture of that community and district that you have. Let's go to work on this. So what is a trauma zone school? It is a school where all of the traumas that we attempt to discuss in trauma-informed care, and don't get me started on that, because once again, this is our habit in our business. This is our habit. We come up, so whether it's trauma, whether it's race, whether it's behavior, we always bring what I like to call a middle class, best case scenario philosophy to the training table. I'll never forget one of the most funny, and then me and this guy are great friends today. We were not great friends the day we met. We're working at a school that got 5 schools in this district. The big boss calls me and says he's not happy with what's going on. He's got the guy who's working for him, who's his district manager. That's what he called him. And he calls me in. So the superintendent heard me. He believes in me. The guy does not like Dr. Jackson because I'm obviously about to blow up his program. Respectfully, I wasn't a jerk about it. So we're sitting at the meeting, and he's giving his plan, and the boss is looking at me saying, Dr. Jackson, will that work? Well, I'm not. This man he just invested some serious numbers in me, and he brought me as an expert, like his lawyer. So I'm like, of course it's not going to work. And he just kept saying, like, everything you're saying that we're trying to do with this population. Now, this was in Detroit a few short years ago, about 3 years ago. And he's like, everything you kept saying, this is me and him talking after we became friends. He was like, this guy is just so negative. I mean, he's just doomed. Everything he's saying that we're doing is not working. Well, he said what he later learned. He's like, everything you said, Jackson, was actually accurate. Because the thing that you have to understand with policies and procedures and training, the first thing you got to understand is the population in which you're serving. Now, we in our business have gotten so overwhelmed and stuck on race. Race matters. And it is, it's a different discussion. The thing that we are seeing that is dominant, that's causing the hiccup, is culture. And by culture, what we mean is working middle class ideology, poor mentality ideology, poverty mentality ideology, welfare mentality ideology. And those are all cultures and belief systems. Typically, the teacher's going to be working middle class people. They believe in education. They think education's the way. They believe that parents should check kids at home. Those are philosophies. So when you put those value systems together, friends, if those values and people are not on the same value page, I'm talking you have a catastrophe. It's happening all over the nation. This is why we have districts that should be doing much better, that are spending an unbelievable amount of time on behavior. And I'm telling you, it was completely avoidable. So this is not, when we talk about behavior, this is not taking shots at, PBIS works, man. Come on. It obviously works. Restorative practices totally support and believe. The key for you, superintendent, principal, is to identify what's my population, because what that does is that tells me what they need. All right? So let's break this down. So we say trauma zone school. So I said, what is a trauma zone school? So a trauma, by definition, is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Okay, so trauma is something that happens to you in your life. If you don't get help, you can be dealing with the rest of your life. See, we were ignorantly taught that time heals wounds. That's not true. Trauma is a functional broken heart. And without help, you're stuck. Now, I know that from being a person that does treatment. Like, traumas can stick forever if you don't get help. So we got people thinking that you're going to time out a trauma. We have people believing that, hey, you can anger out your trauma. Like, tell the kids, let what hurts you motivate you. This generation is not motivated by pain. They actually go in low self. So I came from a generation in the 70s. They say, well, okay, you don't have a father. Let it motivate you. Well, that might have worked for half of the people when I came through the ranks. That's not working for this group now. They don't see the world that way. They've been raised different. So that's the difference. So you as an administrator have to understand, man, who's in front of me. So we got, like right here, I have 2 different schools. We got traditional school. We got critical condition school, trauma zone. Trauma zone operates totally different. A traditional school is those schools that 80% of those families believe in education. They go to work, pay taxes. If you call home with a discipline issue, you're going to get a response, okay? Education is a priority to those families, 80% of those families. So at those schools, the teacher's primary responsibility is what? Teaching. Those schools still exist, right? Those are where me and your kids go to school, okay? They call us, we're going to do something. He did what? Oh, it's over immediately. He did. What did he say? Oh, no. A trauma zone, critical condition school, that's where all of those traumas are. What are they? Death of a loved one, abuse. They see breakups in the family, trust issues in the family, mental illness, health problems in the family, incarceration of a loved one, mental health, parental breakdown, parental rejection, negative race ideas, traumatic stuff. That stuff that's going on at that house comes to the school. That's whether you're black, white, or brown. I would know this only because I have districts and schools of all nationalities, all brown, all white, all black. When that component of poverty and trauma's in there, it looks the same nationwide. I can prove it. Come with me. I show you. Go out to Oregon. Not a black man on the campus. Every single thing on this list, every single thing we go through in Detroit, everything we go dealing with in Illinois, everything we're dealing with in Arizona, everything we're dealing with in Philly, it's right there. And you go, wow. Go out to South Dakota, in the middle of nowhere. They don't even have a McDonald's for me. Got to stay at the casino. Same issues. All Indian American campus. Because poverty travels, but it's here. It's here. We were told poverty's money. If poverty was money, that means we could use this new money they got flowing down through and just wipe the poverty out. Poverty been gone. If poverty was money, we would have wiped it out because we've had enough cash come through the system. That's absolutely just not true. Poverty's been here, so we've been lied to. We've been misinformed. And here we are still using that bad information, and somebody will ignorantly say, well, poverty district, Title I free and reduced population. You could have a Title I free and reduced lunch district and have an abundance 70% just poor families. I mean, well, poor people see the world differently, but you still might get support from the family. There's a difference between poor and poverty. What is it? Poor is liquid. Poverty's mental, emotional. Okay, they see the world differently. That is the thing we've got to train staff on, because if staff understands that, they will have a lot less problems with the kid. The staff is coming into it with a middle class ideology. It's not going to work. I'm telling you right, if that's where you're coming post-COVID, and you about to come back in here like that, I can tell you right now, you're going to spend your whole school year writing up kids, feeling bad, talking about, we don't want to kick them out, we just came back. You're going to spend your time in conferences, suspension hearings, you're going to get embarrassed. You're going to be on TV. Tell you, it's predictable. This is not hard to figure out. So at a critical condition school, you see all that stuff's there, but you got to approach it differently. So the way you deal with the kid, relating to the kid is not being friends with the kid. It's being able to relate to where they're coming from. That's what I teach teachers. I'm not out here talking about be friends with kids. You can't tell a teacher to build a relationship with a kid because a lot of people don't have good relationships in their own personal life. You can't tell a teacher that. You got to show the teacher how to relate, not relation. Relate. Because when I can relate to you, I know how to manage you. That's a nugget right there. That's worth the training fee right there. Send me the training fee right now. That right there is a bar. Send me the training fee right now. Just tell you right. That's what it is. Teaching the teachers to relate, not relationship with an adolescent. And we taught this crap for 7 years. Build a relationship with the kid, no relationship with no adolescent. Who the hell would say something like that? And guess what? We got the results. Go look at how many inappropriate relationships have gone legal. That now, I've always known about them, but now they're legal. Go look at how many teachers have tried to be friends with kids and the kids don't respect them and they're getting no production as of this bad advice we get. So I'm here to set the record straight, to be the voice of reason and also the voice of clarity. Trauma zone schools have to be run a certain way. It is how we relate to the kids. They need daily inspiration, encouragement, these type of things. We're specialized in remediation. Our schedule's different. And then we have to have a very hard line stance on behavior issues. That's the thing that a trauma zone school has to have. It has to have the structure that teaches us about the behavior structure patterns. So A trauma zone school also has to have a very rigid regimented training program. It has to have a program where, like in those traditional schools, they play around with their PD. This year, they're going to have one PD in August, and for a lot of the districts, that'll be the last one. I've had a lot of people say, we don't have PD days anymore. Well, I get it, right? So this is why we've had to diversify our program. We've had to go for that 1 hour on the Wednesday. We've had to go and do after and evening trainings, right? We've had to do hour by hour PLC trainings to accommodate the school. Because it's the thought, we've had so many useless trainings, now we don't know we need it. You are what your training program says you are. So that's why that's done. So in one of these type of schools, you got to be on a regiment, whether it's monthly or quarterly. What behaviors can you expect next year? Very simple. I'm expecting an abundance of willful defiance. It's going to be out of control. An abundance of meltdowns, no matter what the ages of the kids. And if you don't have the structure, you can expect fighting to be out of control, particularly at the upper level. So this means the onus is on SUPs and principals to come in with structure. This is where we're at. The thing we always talk about the referrals and what makes them, we know them. You know, the kid feels the teacher don't like them. The teacher don't like the kids. The teachers are boring. The principals are jellybacks. They don't stand on their rules. And then we have horrible policies. So our policies don't support what we want to do. Explain to me why any district at the secondary level has a 3-fight policy. I mean, let me ask you this. How many times would you need to fight on an airplane before you get banned and can't come back? How many times do you have to fight at a restaurant and they're never letting you come back? Okay, notice, and so this is what I'm saying here. We have to have, and this is why I want you to come to my Behavior Institute, and this is why we start with management first. We need to break this stuff down because we need to have an understanding about what our policies are going to be about and what's going to work and what's not. That is something that's board related, SUP related, because guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, I can work on everything else. Sexual misconduct is out of control nationwide. And fighting is out of control nationwide post-pandemic. Fights. One thing I know as a guy who's a juvenile facilitator of rehabilitation, there's certain things I will not tolerate in my school in the lockdown. I won't tolerate it. Physicality, fights, won't have it. I'll send you to prison. Won't happen. And I'm saying, I'm not going to play with you, and I don't care who thinks it's okay. Safety, security is non-negotiable. And sexual misconduct, those are very highly delinquent behaviors that breach the security and safety of everyone. And on my watch, that will not happen. I'll never let it be said of me that I let that go. Okay? So this is why management has to come in and evaluate its policies to make sure we're where we need to be and the program is going in the direction we need it to go. And are our policies supporting what we want to do? The solution, as we say, is consistently promote professional development, personal development within our staff. If our staff, we have to teach our staff emotionally how to understand this type of stuff. This is not theory training. You got to help people grow and better understand what they're dealing with. That's how you start this process. We're trying to teach people strategies. You can't teach strategies before you teach practical, common sense human growth. You know, I give you a list of 5 things. You'll say, Jackson, I tried it, it didn't work. No, it's not how this works. So what we do is our 8 pillars for discipline, what we teach on this, what our institute is over the course of the year. It's about effective policies, structure, working together, the team, being consistent, learning communication, the right communication, learning how to confront, keeping your confidence where you need it to be, and increasing student rapport. This is the foundation of our discipline program, and this is what we invest in the staff. These are personal development traits that help you as a professional. When you get better at this, we get a better outcome. So our Don't Kick 'Em Out Institute is founded on those principles. It's about understanding what is the right approach, what are the right policies, and then what are the right practices. The way we've been able to successfully implement this is we start with the system. We start with management first. So if you're a district, we like all principals and district management to come and superintendent to come sit down first. That is the first point of contact and how we're going to approach things. Let me tell you this. During my time of doing this, hundreds of thousands of teachers, I've never had one teacher disagree with me or say, you know what you're saying, Jackson, doesn't make sense. I like to be known as the common sense approach guy, right? Common sense is not common practice, though. But I have consistently seen teachers, and this is where we knew we had to make some adjustments. Once the teacher hears and knows what I'm saying, it's very accurate. It's contingent upon the structure of the organization. So I can't have an organization that doesn't have structure, but then I'm asking the teacher to maintain structure. Discipline is a team philosophy. It's a team approach, meaning we have to have structure in the organization. So that's why we start with management. It's the school leadership approach first. Then you notice we break the behavior systems down by grade. We start with administration, but our next pillar, we separate. We don't like to have the district-wide behavior. It doesn't work because everybody's at a different stage. I have different rules for each stage, right? But I start with management. Secondary, the pre-K to second grade. That's a different philosophy, right? And how do you approach it at that age, right? So pre-K programs. Over the last 5 years of my career, pre-K programs nationwide have seen a spike. This is why they had to change all the rules, where kids 4-year-olds are getting sent home. About a decade ago, in one of my states, 66% of every 4-year-old got sent home. That's why they had to change the law. They won't even let you suspend them for third grade now. Well, that was why. So that means everybody that does that, they got to have a different training, man. You can't be having them sitting in there with the high school or the junior high. Doesn't work. Then you have our second tier that you can use for the 3 to 6, right? Same thing. How do we approach it right there in elementary? What's the policies that work? What are the practices that work? Then there's different rules and different approaches for the secondary. Okay, secondary ed, 7 and up, my rules are different. I've really asked districts to impose a fighting ban, meaning you got to get with the board, we got to sit down. We cannot allow fighting. Guys, we will work with you on everything else. Your attitude and being a jerk and all that stuff. But you can't verbally threaten people and you can't hurt people. When we start that, particularly at that age group, you are tapping into something you can't control. I like to always ask this to any superintendent, school board member, or teacher, or principal. Do you like breaking up fights? Do you feel safe when fights break out? I can't tell you how many principals, teachers I've had go home, broken nose, broken jaws, broken arms, fighting, go out on medical. I will always work with a kid on behavior. I work with him on his or her attitude. But you're not going to threaten anybody here. You can't threaten anybody on an airplane. Dude, the marshal's coming to get you, even if you apologize. So that's what I'm saying. Are we preparing the kids for the real world or the world we live in? So when they stopped zero tolerance, it was because it was abuse of the policy. Zero tolerance, you got to know what you have zero tolerance for. You don't have zero tolerance for drugs? You don't have zero tolerance for sex abuse? What's going on? That's policy. That's why we got to sit down and talk. We got to bring management in. Let's lay it out. Then talk to secondary staff, and then let's set a tone. That's how this works. The training talks about the things such as building teacher self-confidence, expectations for kids, how to prevent toxic student behavior, how to implement these behavior policies, how do you build classroom structure, culture. How do you go about being a reliable teammate? Because behavior is a team sport. How do you confront negative student behavior? How do you increase teacher-student rapport? How do you get better at that? How do you reduce these suspensions without cooking the books? A lot of schools are just cooking the books. I mean, the kid probably should have been kicked out. You didn't, right? How do you do that? What are the root causes of this disruption? How should we approach it? How to better understand race and how to take race out of the behavior equation. How to teach the behavior you want to see. How to effectively communicate with the young people for the results we need, right? How do we build their confidence and their self-esteem? And ultimately, what are the behavior strategies that we know works? My expectation is very simple. We said it again. We like to start with school management. If we start there, then we can push out into the deep. That's how we get better results. We're very flexible in times because the entire world is going through PD withdrawals. People, there's a shortage of time. They want to give more time to instruction. So what we've done is we have set it up to be as flexible as we can be, which means I've traveled the entire pandemic, COVID negative, thank God, and we've been well, but we have practices and disciplines that we use, right, that have kept me healthy and well during this time. So I've been out here the whole time, traveled every week. So we're still going, we're going to schools, we're back in schools, but we're still doing virtual. It's what's best and safest for the organization, right? What works? So if that means coming doing a PLC day and you're doing multiple hours, harder on my voice, good for the organization. Whatever works for the organization, we're flexible. You work with us, we work with you, we'll get the time worked out. You know how we feel. The more time we get, the better we are. I would like every organization that's in the sound of my voice to use your summer, use some of the summertime to get your institute in. You will not regret it. But specifically, even if you only start with your administrators, I guarantee you will not regret it. Give us a call today. If you know this is what you need, give us a call today. Give us an email. Give us a call today. We are here for you. We set the program up for schools like you that know they need more guidance and support in this area. Once again, this is nothing negative about identifying that the model you might have been using doesn't work for your population. Guys, you got to understand there's different populations. Rural approaches things a certain way. Inner city looks a certain type of way. Middle class schools, traditional schools, suburban schools, they approach things a certain way. But you have to realize, what if you have one of those schools that bring all worlds together? You got working middle class family mentality, kids that have a shortage of resources, but then you got the poverty, welfare mentality, all under the same roof. Now you know that's where management makes their money, because you're going to have to identify that and know what's best for that campus. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you be successful. I'm here to help your district to achieve its goals. It is a process. It is a commitment. But guys, this is what it is, and this is the thing I'm most proud of. This is what gets us our results. It is the commitment and regimented approach to working with the organization, ongoing, tackling it, identifying the problems, addressing it with the right approach, the right understanding. If you have the right approach to a problem, you're going to get a much better result when you go to solve it. If your approach is off, your results will always be very inconsistent. And that's what we're seeing, and that's what we can help you correct. I'm looking forward to working with you soon. Please act quickly. Looking forward to an awesome, awesome school year. Thank you very much. Be well, my friends. I'll see you in class.